last till the sunrise? One night, can we last till the sunrise? One night, can we last till the sunrise? One night, one night, can we last till the sunrise? One night, can we last till the sunrise? One night, can we last till the sunrise? One night.
Hello, you're listening to Josiah's Voice. I'm your host, Josiah Bradley. In this conversational podcast, I invite you on my journey through TV, film, and writing. Plus, fellow artists visit with me to share their own unique creative voices along the way. Tune in and get inspired. Hello, everybody. This is Josiah. Welcome back to another episode of Josiah's Voice, the podcast. I hope you're doing well. I'm really excited about today's episode. I'm going down memory lane with my mom about her favorite traveling experiences. If you've been listening, you know that I've moved to Rwanda with her and my dad and one of my brothers. We've been enjoying our time, immersing ourselves in the culture in Rwanda and living abroad. It's really, really new, and I just thought I'd talk to some of my family members about their favorite experiences traveling. So, welcome, Mom.
Hey, how's it going?
Going well. It's a little hot today, but it is a beautiful day out.
Yes, it is.
So, Mom, you're retired. Congratulations again.
Oh, yes. So thankful.
Can you talk a little bit about your previous career, what you went to school for?
Okay. I went to University of Maryland in Maryland. And I don't know if the what I went into school is really going on now, but it was called therapeutic recreation. Basically, you work with adults and children that have different disabilities. They might have intellectual disabilities or physical disabilities. And that's what I did for quite a few years. And then I always wanted to work with younger children that had emotional difficulty. They were intelligently, they were smart. They just had a lot of baggage, and so they were in maybe a specific type of a school setting or something. And so I began to work at a school, initials ECC in DC, with younger children between the ages of 3 and 12. And it was a really good setting. I really enjoyed it. It was, I think, out of all the jobs I ever had, that was really, I think, one of my favorite. It was more of a family. The staff there, the teaching staff were more of special ed teachers, and you had social work staff and psychology staff. And the man, he wasn't the principal, he was called the director. Very hands-on, but they were just very family. It's a small grouping. I think we had no more than maybe, I'm going to say maybe 55 children or less.
Okay.
And so classes were smaller. So they had their regular classes, academic classes, and then they would have other things to teach them, like woodworking and art and music and physical activities and things like that. And some children lived there on the weekends, and a lot of kids went home. So it depended on the situation as to why they were there. They were recommended through, they'd have an educational assessment to let you know which children would benefit at this particular school setting or maybe at a different setting. And they would be there until they turned 12, and then they would find other settings that would help them as they grew. And so and it was set up somewhat just like a regular school. They had, wouldn't call them PTA meetings, but they would call them IEP meetings, where the parents would come and talk to their teacher to see their progress, or social worker or psychologist to see how they're doing. But I really liked that job. It was really, like I say, one of probably my best jobs, just very family oriented. When I was going to have you and the other child, my second child, and they let you sit down and relax, and it was just really good. I enjoyed it. And then it came to a time where I was like, you know what? I think I want to come home and raise you and your brother. And I had known about homeschooling, and this is like around 1994, and I'd known about homeschooling through some other friends and people from church, and so I knew pretty much about it because one of the ladies came over one time with a lot of us women, and she set up the table and showed us all the different subjects and walked us through what a day would look like and what it would look like to homeschool, because I didn't really know a lot about it. And so then I decided I think I wanted to do that, and so I came home from working and found an area where I lived and started going through that. And this one wasn't really mostly academic. I did the academics at home, but this particular group I was part of, they were more of so the children could get to interact with each other, socialize.
Which is good.
But then we did activities where, say if you were doing science classes or something, we would go to museums. We would try to do things that incorporated what you did and what you were doing in school. And some of the parents that were part of this group would teach activities. And a lot of the parents, they had backgrounds like anybody else. Some of them used to be a doctor. Some used to be a lawyer, medical, all areas, academics that you could think of. And they would teach certain classes, and then if we didn't have someone that could do that, they could bring people in.
Yeah.
So like we had a friend that she was a nurse by profession, and we were doing biology. And when you did biology, and she would bring in different people that were in the field in different areas that you were studying biology, and they would talk about it. And so it was really good. And so even though people used to think that homeschooling, you're separated and you're isolated, you really weren't that, and you could attest to that. We did a lot. We had to kind of cut back on some things. Like I say, we did activities in the summer where we would set up at certain rec areas where we could do for a period of time, maybe for a month we would do outside activities. Then another month we might do swimming at one of the swimming places. Another time we might do bowling or whatever was available. We would all find out what we could do as we're growing through ages and grades and stuff to keep you up with what you're doing. Because I'm like, I didn't know biology, but I found someone that could do that. I'm not really good in the math, but I had someone to help you with as you're getting further up in algebra and things like that. And it was pretty rounded. You know, I enjoyed that. That was a really good time. I did that for about 24 or 5 years. If I think about it, so from when you started and then as the guys came along, you know, and met a lot of good people, learned a lot of things. I learned a lot of things myself in teaching you guys. So that was a good time in life. I really did enjoy that. That was a good growing time. So.
Yeah, I remember with biology, like shout out to Mrs. Ojo, miss her. Had a lot of enjoyable experiments, like we go to the creek or to the park to do like cultures, or we had fun projects similar to like in public school of like poster board or paper mache or different things to do experiments or diagrams to show that we understood various things about the natural world and whatnot. Or I remember you outsourcing, I don't remember her name, but outsourcing with another organization or person in the organization for high school algebra and things like that. If you didn't know, I always thought that was cool. Yeah, that mom or dad, if your dad taught you, your parents didn't have to know everything. You could still outsource, really no different than you did in public school, really, because your parents went to school, probably a public school, and they had, you know, their strong suits. And so I like that mom had her strong suits with like English and other things and reading. You know, I remember I struggled with reading, but then one day it clicked when you and I were learning that around, you know, between 4, 5, and 6.
And we found other resources to help you with reading, because like you say, everyone reads at a different level, and we learned our learning styles. Like some people are kinesthetic, where they do the visual and the auditory, and some are just visual and some are just auditory. So it helps you to know, okay, as we're teaching, each child is different. So I can't teach you the same way I taught your my second son Ethan, or that, you know, everyone's different, you learn different. And so that was good. And just having the resources about as you grew, because everybody was concerned, well, are they going to have gaps or things? But because I was part of a group, and everyone, we'd all come together and have meetings and find out, okay, I'm lacking in this area. Do you know anyone that can help in that? And we all kind of work together to help each other. And I remember when your brother Matthew got to the point where he was older and doing biology, I met another lady in another group we did who was a nurse also, and she taught biology. So it was just interesting, meeting people. And then Daniel, when he got to the point, he did biology, really good teacher, really great, creative. And a lot of these parents, very creative and how they would present the work. So it wasn't so boring and bogged down, just very creative the way they present it. And so that was a good learning experience for all of us.
Yeah.
So enjoyed that.
I'll go ahead and close this since they be hollering. Hopefully it won't get too hot.
It'll work.
Okay. Yeah, sorry guys if you hear any kids, speaking of children and homeschooling, if you hear any kids hollering, they're playing tag. I guess school's out for them next door. But yeah, Mom, I remember taking me down memory lane of like going to museums or like Book It for pizza when I got a handle on reading. That was a fun, creative thing. I don't know if it was unique to homeschooling, but I was glad to have it where, you hit certain reading goals.
Right.
And we'd all
and
go
then
to,
you got to go to
Pizza Hut
yes.
or did horseback riding.
That was
different
good
things.
because they taught you had to learn how to take care of the horse.
Yep,
and then at the
feed it
end you
and-
did like a little mini equestrian type of thing at
Around
the
the
end,
trail,
around
yeah,
the trail,
yeah. So
that
that's
was
cool.
good. And then you did swords,
fencing.
fencing.
Yep, did a fencing class. So
Yes.
there were really fun aspects as we kind of go down memory lane there. I'm grateful for those memories and those experiences and the people we met. I know, but for those who don't know, Mom, what inspired you to get into, what would you say the degree was again?
It's called therapeutic recreation.
So-
It's something like special ed, but it dealt more. Special ed was more with academics, whereas therapeutic recreation was more with activities like basketball or doing activities that cater to whatever the disability or the intellectual functioning that the person or the child may have had. So that was how that was just different in reference to the special ed. But then as time went on and I wanted to work with younger children, even though I still did the activities, but I'd work hand in hand with the special ed teacher and then I would do things. So we would work kind of hand in hand.
What inspired you to want to work with children and families in that creative way in the first place?
I guess I always liked helping. I just always liked being with children and helping them to develop and grow in areas, be it if they're strong in something to continue that, or if they're weak in something to help them in that, to build them at. I has always been that way. When I was younger, I used to say maybe I wanted to be a school teacher or something like that. And then as I got older and went to college and found out, what degree I kind of wanted to get into, that area I just enjoy that of just helping people to grow and develop, and I just something I just liked.
That's cool because it definitely showed growing up, and even to this day, even though you're not homeschooling anymore, I think a mom is one of the most, or to some of you, Miss Marlene. I got so, she's my mom. I got so comfortable. Y'all should at least know her first name, Miss Marlene. To some people, of just being very helpful, super creative person, very much about the village and the family dynamic and also customizing, just kind of dwelling with people according to knowledge. That's
Right.
something my mom says a lot about, just how you get to know people. So Mom, we were going to definitely dive into following all of that with your career. Did you travel a lot? Again, I know the answer. For those who don't know you, did you travel a lot growing up? You, grandma, grandpa?
Yes, I did, because your grandfather was in the Air Force.
Yeah, love you, grandpa.
And I remember the first time traveling, I think I was about 2 years old, and Granddad got stationed in Germany. And so we went there, and it was just me and your Aunt Adrian at the time. And he was in Germany for like about a year and a half, and then in England for about a year and a half. It was kind of weird how that kind of worked out. And I remember, I do vaguely pretty much remember. We had pictures and stuff, but I remember because I guess the things that we did, they just kind of stay in your memory.
Yeah.
I remember neighbors that we met because we lived in an apartment. I remember people that we knew and families that we knew because we would have dinner together and do things together. And then I remember a little playground we would go to and on the swings and things like that. And so I remembered all of those things. And we had accents because the younger you are, you pick up those things.
Yeah.
And I know we had little German accents and little accent English, British
wild.
accents, which was interesting. It didn't last, but while we were there, they were.
Yeah.
And then so I was there from 2 till about 4.5 or 5 or so, and Mom was pregnant with Uncle Roger, and so Dad was getting stationed no longer there, and he was getting stationed in Indiana. So we came back to Washington, D.C., which was our home, for her to have Uncle Roger, and we stayed there just for a little while, a few months maybe, and then he got stationed in Indiana, and we were there for a while. We were like maybe, it's a little town nobody probably ever heard of, Peru, Indiana, but it was probably maybe 2 hours from Indianapolis or something like that. Like I said, this is all being in the service and everything and Air Force, but that was a good life. I really enjoyed that because we got to meet people from all over the place. It was almost like I felt we were like international. When folks would have people over, you would have people from Germany, England, Taiwan, just everywhere, because it being in the service or any military, you're going to have groups of people from all over the place. And so that was really good. And I think we were there from like, I think kindergarten till like maybe 4th grade. And then Pop got stationed in California. But we came back to D.C. for a few months because he had to get housing. And so he went ahead while we stayed in D.C. for a while. And then we came to California. And we were down in an area called Victorville, which is like the Mojave Desert. It's probably like about 45 minutes or so from San Bernardino, maybe an hour, a little more from Los Angeles.
Where we were.
Yeah, and so we got to travel a lot just living in there. So that was like 4th grade till about 10th grade.
Okay.
10th grade. And
I remember you, when Aunt Adrian visited us, I think last year,
Yes.
year before last. That was fun that all the family drove up to Victorville, and you showed us your old high school.
Yeah, we got to
and
see where I went to
friends.
school and everything.
That was
And we got to visit some friends in another area that we knew. And so that was something, all that travel, we just loved to travel. And then when we moved to California after Dad retired, then we came back to Maryland. We lived in Maryland and lived there, and y'all grew up and everything. And then we moved to California.
Back in 2019.
Back in 2019. We were there for a few years. And and like you say, Aunt Adrian came through last year, and we got to go visit, or the year before. We got to do that because at first she came twice.
Oh, that's right.
The year before she came, and you got to visit, where we used to live, and then she came again this past, in 2021. And so I've always liked to travel. I guess, like I say, it probably stemmed from Dad being in the service, and so I always, we're always looking. Oh, I want to go here. I want to go there, and it's just nice. I feel you experience life different. You get to understand, I think, people in different areas, because I think if you just stay in one area, you just kind of know that area. But when you go to other places, you get to understand, oh, okay, there's groups of people that now in California, we have maybe more of a lot of people in the area we were that maybe were Mexican or other things like that, And so you just get to know other people and other cultures, And so now that we're here...
In Rwanda.
Rwanda, it's like we're learning another culture or more of who we are, and wanting to learn the language. Definitely, and so that's all new, So I've always loved to travel, always.
Did you, unless you said it, did you have a favorite travel experience, either as a little girl or maybe in college time? Or
there's so many. I always remember when we were younger and we lived in Indiana, and we would travel from Indiana to D.C. because it was like
road trip.
I forget
was it a road trip?
Yeah, it was a road trip.
Okay.
We always drove.
Okay.
We always drove, and back at that time, and we're talking like early '60s and stuff. And Dad had a Oldsmobile, like that big boxy car. Usually when you see them nowadays, they look like they were like green or white or tan and white or brown. They're always that kind of color, but they were real big boxy cars back in those days. And so we seemed like we had a lot of room in the back seat. And we would lay the suitcases down and, Dad would have the seats and we would just all be in the back. And we always played games like you're driving down the street and, how many license plates you can see from certain places. So maybe you would pick a state and go, I'm going to see how many license plates I can see from Pennsylvania, how many I can see from Ohio. Because you travel from Indiana, Illinois to Ohio to Pennsylvania until you got to D.C. area. And so that was just always great. I think that was probably one of my favorite
in the car with the family.
And then I think second to that is when we moved from Maryland to California. And we drove.
Yep.
All four of us. And that was just fun. We stopped at different places. We had family on the way we stayed with and friends we stayed with in different places. And New Orleans, we got to go places. And so, I guess...
The togetherness.
Yeah, the togetherness and just experiencing different things.
Yeah, I love that we... if you've heard my previous episode when we had been in LA for 2 years, the family, I drove ahead of the family with my friends Ochi and Robert. When I was in had my car, Gandalf the Gray. I called him Silver Honda. Missed that car, but it was we had a fun time hitting the same spots, and the togetherness was fun. Listening to music or podcasts. We went to New Orleans as well. We kind of followed the same route that my parents and my brother Daniel took, but it also takes me back to like going to like Illinois to visit Dad's side of the family. Those road trips and having the what is it, the travel turtle on top of the car with the luggage and snacks in the car and music and just I'm glad that rubbed off on me. And I think I could say the brothers of just that
to travel,
being together and just seeing the different landmarks or the different what did you say, license plates, and just different things. I also like that we shared in that, and that even though we diverged super briefly for LA, we still kind of had parallels. Me with my friends, you guys when y'all left like a week after me or something. So I think that's super cool. What has travel taught you about yourself?
I guess being flexible.
Okay. That's a good one.
Because you do have to change according to the environment you're in. Because like if you're traveling in a car, it's not always comfortable. It can be hot, it can be cold depending on the time you're going. You may be staying at a hotel and it might not be quite the way you want it to be. I mean, I'm saying it's not nice, but things you have to adjust to. So there's a lot of adjustments.
Yeah.
But being flexible and just really wanting to experience different things.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In fact, to that, so now we're in Rwanda. What's great or small? What's one adjustment you've made or are in the process of making living here? Because it's at the time of this recording, it's been 4 months.
Right.
So what's one adjustment you've made? And then what's one thing or two things you love about Rwanda at this point?
One adjustment. We don't have a car.
Right, yeah. At this time, we don't have a car yet.
Yeah. So to be able to go places, we have friends that have drivers, and so
personal
we do
drivers,
that.
yeah.
So you have to kind of plan things out more for when you do things. Whereas when you had your own car, you could just get in and go.
That's
so
right.
that's been a little different, trying to figure that out. And it's gotten better. But I know in the beginning it was like, okay, but
we just weren't used.
Yes, weren't used to that.
Because it's not like we used Uber in the States that
And
often. I used it a couple times, but I had
our
my
own
car,
vehicles,
we had our own
right?
vehicles
Right.
and things like that. Okay, and then what was something you personally love about Rwanda so far?
I like the quiet and the peacefulness. It's
Me too.
It's a little more serene and settled. You don't feel like you're rush. I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
I feel it's settled. It's beautiful. The weather is nice.
Yep. We don't have no humidity. I don't
No
miss the Maryland humidity.
Now we may get a lot of rain.
Yeah, and
But
the
when
rainy
it's
season,
gone,
yeah.
it's gone, and it's not, like you said, there's no humidity,
not
and it could rain and rain, and it's gone. And it's almost like it didn't even rain.
Right.
It's just
Everything's
interesting,
dry, like half an hour later.
Yes, but yeah, it's beautiful. The birds, you hear the
Oh,
birds
yeah,
all
yeah.
the time. I love that.
Me too.
The greenery, and I mean, we have real palm trees from here.
Right.
Like when
From
we lived
Africa.
yes, like when we lived in California, those palm trees didn't come from California.
Right,
They came
right.
from other places, but here it's authentic. You
Yeah.
know, so that I like.
That's cool.
But yeah, and it's nice, and the people are lovely. The people are really nice.
Yeah, especially the friends we're making.
Yes, so
That's good.
Yeah.
Is there one thing you miss from the U.S. or anything, or?
a couple of things. I know when we lived in California, we used to drive a lot.
Yeah.
And go play, like on the
We were
weekend
talking
and
about
stuff. Where
that.
we want to go this weekend. Even though it was, initially we could do a whole lot.
Sure,
Then when
yeah.
COVID came, it was a little restricted, but we
Right,
still were
right.
able to get out because if we're in the car, we're okay.
Yeah.
And so we would pick different places to go to, and I love that. I miss the beach. 'Cause
Yeah,
that was
I
real
miss the
close
beach
to us.
too,
We could
yeah.
really
It's
go
like-
there and walk on the, on the walk and everything. And so I do. I miss the
Yeah.
little places we would just get in the car and go to that were close. I mean, people talk about Santa Monica and you talk
Right.
about Redondo. You talk about all these different little places, but they were close to us.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
No,
I miss that from California, and then I do miss some of the same things in when we lived in Maryland.
Maryland, yeah,
Of course,
yeah.
I miss my family,
Right,
first
yeah.
and foremost.
Shout out to the
but,
family, grandma,
miss,
cousins.
but miss. We do a lot of walking and drives and things like
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
too. You know, so just places that you could just get and go. We can't go to Annapolis anymore. You
Oh,
know,
yeah,
and,
we did used to go there.
You know, or just the walks that we would do and stuff. Not that we can't do that here, but it's just
Right, right.
different.
It's just
It's
different.
just different. So
Because we have been to like Mount Kigali,
right,
and
which is really nice.
really nice. We're going
Right.
into town more,
Mm-hmm,
and we want to see like Lake. I know that's another question later, but like Lake Kivu. And,
Yeah.
And then there are beaches in neighboring countries like Tanzania. You know, it's not as close.
Yeah.
But it was similar, just a little similar
Yeah.
in Maryland. Granted, we could go to Annapolis
Right.
to see the water. Otherwise, Virginia Beach
Yes.
was our stomping ground.
Stomping
And
ground,
that was
yeah, we did
about,
beach.
3 hours away?
Do miss getting. I mean, I haven't been actually in the water, beach water. It's been more than a year,
Yeah.
maybe a year and a half.
Yeah.
Because Dad and I, we would get, but it's like, so that really, yeah.
No,
Look
we'll-
into that when that can happen.
when we can do that again.
Yeah.
We'll do
Yeah.
that soon. Do you have a favorite aspect of culture, like the environment or food or music? Is there something about culture, especially different from your own, that you're like, this is just my favorite aspect of culture?
Well, I guess in reference to here, it's like, I just see more people that look like me.
Right, yeah. Yep.
I love, we haven't heard a whole lot. We've met some people that are from here. And one young lady, she was teaching myself and young Gloria how to dance.
Oh,
So some of their
okay.
dance, we haven't done that in a while, but just some of their dances to try
Yeah,
to
yeah.
learn those. So I'm looking forward to doing that and to learn the language.
Kinyarwanda.
Kinyarwanda. So those are the things that I'm really looking forward to do.
Yeah.
But I've seen those, and we've seen, we've been places and heard the music, and so I've heard the music from here.
Yeah.
Even though we've gone some places and we hear a whole lot of the music from the States.
Oh,
but
right.
I'm looking more and more to hear the music from the people from here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nice. Okay, This has been good, Mom. Take me back to memories and just, we have that adventurous spirit. It's okay to miss things, but we have a lot that we're looking forward to and
Yes.
things that we've experienced already, and it's been fun to kind of think about those things. Before we go, let's talk about you and Dad's podcast. Can you describe that? If y'all didn't know, my parents have a podcast. Can you talk about
Yeah.
that for just a little bit?
Okay, Awaken with Mark. Now, it's his starting, not his. And now
Oh,
that
right,
I've
right.
joined it, when we talk on it, it's called Awaken with Mark and Marlene.
Yeah, because it's from his blog.
His
initially
blog that he
was
did,
Awaken with Mark. Now you're
yes. And
doing
it's
it.
basically trying to talk with people that have basically dreams.
Yeah.
A lot of people have dreams of wanting to live in another country.
Yep.
Wanting to learn another language, or wanting to be a writer or an artist. So we have interviewed people like that. Our thing is to like be able to get on and talk to people that have seen their dreams come true, or they're looking, are in the middle of what their dream may be. And we've talked to people that have written books, or that have always wanted to be a DJ or something like that, and they've done it in another country, and it's
cool.
been great. We've talked to people that, we've talked about the diaspora of understanding living in the States and then coming over to Africa and learning the difference in the culture, and how we are definitely different in another country than in the States. It's a different dynamic. And a lot of people, you've got to really do your research and understand you can't bring the United States to Africa, or the United States to Europe, even though Europe and the United States might seem somewhat alike.
Yeah.
But some countries are so much different that you just can't bring that there and expect it to be like that. You've got to come to that country and say, okay, this is how they do things, and I'm going to have to learn how they do things.
Yeah.
And so we kind of, when we talk to people, we're learning from what they've done. Like, we know a person that used to live in the States and they moved to Japan.
Yep.
And so learning about what's it like living in Japan and doing your craft and technology or music or whatever it is you're doing. So basically just talking to people and seeing their dream and helping them, either giving them tips or they giving us tips on resources, or
give and
and
take,
so when
that's
we've
great.
talked to people, they've said, okay, this is what I did. And then anyone that may be listening to the broadcast, they say, oh, I've always wanted to know how to do that. And so whoever we might talk to will say, this is what I did. These are resources that you can get. And so basically just trying to help people to really see their dream come fully, you know. So,
That's great.
yeah.
I love it when I've tuned in, and like you kept mentioning the Japanese episode with the young DJ, and how he like went from the States out there, and like that's just cool stuff. And so I'm really glad that you and Dad, you guys do a lot of things together anyway, but I think it's cool. He went from writing his blog and Daniel redesigning it and leveling it up, to then you two doing it together and just talking to friends and expanding to other people, like the DJ or like the woman from Ghana, guests from Ghana, and schools and business. So I think that's really cool. Guys, you can find Awaken with Mark and Marlene on Anchor and Spotify. I think that's really great. You should tune in. Lastly, Mom, we touched on it a bit. What's some other places you want to visit?
Wow. Well, since we're in Africa, I do want to go to South Africa.
Me, yeah.
I do. I think a lot of us want to go there.
Yeah.
Definitely want to go there. But closer to where we are, there's Ethiopia. I'd love to go there. Kenya.
A lot of the horses we've ridden here are from Kenya.
There's places I've always heard about growing up. Botswana, Madagascar.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just in this area. I mean, there's other countries I'd still love to go to. Rio de Janeiro, Italy, you know. So, but because we're in Africa, those are, I guess, first because we're here. Those places to kind of like, but I think right now South Africa sounds like maybe one of the first places I'd love to go see.
Places.
So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, y'all, this has been great. I hope you've taken some insights, some gems about chasing your dreams and about that adventurous spirit. I feel grateful to have a mom who's got that adventurous, helpful spirit. It's not just all about her, but it's not all about the outside either. I think my mom struck a nice balance between being adventurous and helping people and that give and take of culture and ideas. So I hope that in your own way that rubs off on you as you listen to this, especially if you want to travel or maybe you want to homeschool or looking for tips. I hope some of the tips here about how to get help, because, we're still managing COVID. Things are opening up, but a lot of families began homeschooling when COVID was at its height.
Right.
And so I hope that ability I hope you've learned that you can outsource and you can get help just as my mom did. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed just remembering my childhood with Mom and hearing more. I've heard a lot of these stories about her and my aunt and my uncle and grandparents. And I just hope you were inspired to get back out there and be adventurous. So until next time, I'll talk to you later. Thanks, Mom.
You're welcome.
See y'all. Thank you guys for tuning in to Josiah's Voice, the podcast. Subscribe on all listening platforms. And you can keep up with the show on social media by following @Josiah's Voice Pod on all social media. And keep up with the show on the blog. Subscribe at the blog at www.josiahsvoicepodcast.wordpress.com for all the show notes for each and every episode. And if you like my theme music, the song is called Emotion. It's by Mateo. Subscribe to him on iTunes and Spotify. Thanks, guys.